Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The rain was relentless, hammering against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Apex Media's downtown Atlanta office like it was trying to break through. It was past 10 p.m., and the place was a ghost town, desks abandoned, computer screens dark. The hum of the air conditioning the only sound besides the storm outside. I was hunched over my laptop in the conference room, spreadsheets and half-finished slides glaring back at me. My eyes burned, my neck ached, but I couldn't leave. Not yet. This project was my shot to prove I belonged here, that I wasn't just some lucky hire who'd stumbled into a corner office job. I didn't hear the footsteps at first. The storm was too loud, and I was too deep in my own head muttering to myself about client demographics. But then I felt it, a shift in the air, like someone had walked into the room and sucked out half the oxygen. I looked up, and there he was. Ethan Brooks, CEO of Apex Media, standing in the doorway. His tailored suit was slightly rumpled, his dark hair damp from the rain, clinging to his forehead in a way that made him look less like the untouchable executive and more like a man. A tired, human man. "Nia," he said, his voice low, almost swallowed by the rain. "You're still here." I froze, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Ethan Brooks didn't just show up in the conference room at this hour. He was the kind of guy whose name you whispered in the break room. The legend who'd built Apex from a startup in his garage to a media empire by 35. Now, pushing 45, he was a fixture in Atlanta's business scene, sharp, private, and intimidating as hell. I'd seen him in boardrooms, commanding attention with a single glance, but this was different. His tie was loosened, his eyes softer, like he was carrying something heavy. I just need to finish the Singapore numbers," I stammered, gesturing at my screen. "They're due tomorrow." He didn't respond right away. Instead, he stepped into the room, his polished shoes clicking against the hardwood floor. He stopped a few feet from my desk, close enough that I could smell the faint cedarwood of his cologne mixed with the petrichor scent of rain. My heart kicked into overdrive. What was he doing here? Why was he looking at me like that? Like he could see straight through my discount blazer and scuffed flats to the mess of a woman underneath? "You should go home," he said finally, but his tone wasn't commanding. It was gentle. "You've been burning the midnight oil too often." I forced a laugh, trying to shake off the tension. "Can't afford to slack, Mr. Brooks. Not when I'm the new kid." He didn't smile, but his eyes crinkled slightly, like he was holding one back. "You're not a kid, Nia, and you're not new anymore. You've been here 3 months and you're already outshining half the department." My cheeks warmed, and I looked down at my laptop, pretending to adjust a slide. Compliments from Ethan Brooks weren't just rare. They were mythical. I didn't know how to handle it, especially not when he was standing there, watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. And then he said it. "Nia, I need to tell you something." His voice dropped, rougher now, like he was forcing the words out. "I've tried to keep this to myself. I know it's wrong, know it's complicated, but I can't anymore. I'm in love with you." The world stopped. My breath caught in my throat, and for a second I thought I'd misheard him. The rain kept pounding, the clock on the wall kept ticking, but everything else, my thoughts, my heartbeat, the entire damn universe, froze. Ethan Brooks, the man who could buy half of Atlanta with a single phone call, was standing in front of me, saying he loved me. Me. Nia Carter, the girl from Vine City who grew up eating government cheese and dodging eviction notices. I stared at him, my mouth dry. "What?" He ran a hand through his wet hair, looking almost as rattled as I felt. "I know how this sounds. I'm your boss. There's a power dynamic, and I've been hyper-aware of it. That's why I've kept my distance, tried to support your career without crossing lines. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." My mind was a hurricane. Questions collided with emotions, shock, flattery, confusion, fear. Was this why he'd been so attentive? The coffee cups that appeared on my desk, always made just how I liked it. The way he'd linger after meetings, asking about my ideas like they mattered. And those moments I'd caught him watching me, his gray eyes unreadable through the glass walls of the marketing department. Had that all been because of this? I pushed my chair back, needing space. "Mr. Brooks." "Ethan," he corrected, his voice soft but firm. "Ethan," I said, testing the name. It felt strange, too intimate. "You can't just say something like that. I mean, why me? I'm nobody. I'm just trying to keep my head above water here." His jaw tightened, and he took a step closer, his eyes locked on mine. "You're not nobody, Nia. You're brilliant. You walk into a room, and people notice, not because of what you wear or where you're from, but because of how you carry yourself. You've got this fire, this drive. I saw it the first day you walked into Apex, and I haven't been able to look away since." I wanted to believe him. Part of me, a reckless, foolish part, wanted to lean into his words, let them wrap around me like a warm blanket. But another part, the part that had grown up in a world that didn't hand out free lunches, screamed at me to run. This wasn't a fairy tale. This was my boss, a man with enough power to make or break my career, standing in a dark office telling me he loved me. And worse, I wasn't sure I was completely immune to him. There'd been moments, his hand brushing mine in the break room, his rare laugh when I'd cracked a joke in a meeting, that had made my stomach flip. I stood up, my hands shaking. "I need to know something. All the opportunities I've gotten, the projects, the praise, was that because of my work? Or was it because of this?" Ethan's face fell, and for the first time I saw something like guilt in his eyes. "Both," he admitted. "You're talented, Nia. I wouldn't have put company projects at risk if you weren't. But yeah, I wanted to see you succeed. I wanted to be near you. And I'm not proud of how I've handled it." His honesty hit me like a punch. I'd fought so hard to prove myself, to claw my way out of debt and into this job, only to find out my success might have been tainted by his feelings. I didn't know whether to be angry or flattered, grateful or betrayed. "I need time," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "This is a lot." He nodded, stepping back. "Take all the time you need. Whatever you decide, it won't affect your job. I promise." He hesitated, then added, "For what it's worth, I'm sorry for making you feel watched without your knowledge. That wasn't fair." And then he was gone, his footsteps fading down the hall, leaving me alone with the rain and 1,000 questions. Let me take you back to where this all started, because 3 months ago, I had no idea my life was about to turn upside down. My name's Nia Carter, and I'm a 28-year-old black woman from Vine City, a neighborhood in Atlanta where the houses lean a little too close together and the streetlights flicker after dark. Growing up, it was just me and my mom, Loretta, scraping by on her nurse's aide salary. She'd work double shifts, come home with her feet swollen, and still find the energy to tell me, "Nia, you're gonna be somebody. Don't let nobody tell you different." I believed her, even when the world didn't make it easy. I was the first in my family to go to college, racking up student loans that still haunt my bank account. After graduation, I bounced between temp jobs, serving coffee and filing papers, until I landed an entry-level marketing gig at Apex Media. It wasn't glamorous. $45,000 a year doesn't go far in Atlanta, but it was steady. For the first time, I could pay my bills without holding my breath, even if it meant eating instant noodles some nights to make sure Mom's meds were covered. Apex Media was a whole different world. The office sat in a glassy skyscraper downtown, with marble floors and views of the Atlanta skyline that made my head spin. Walking in on my first day, I felt like an imposter in my thrift store blazer and palest shoes. The receptionist, a polished woman named Claire, gave me a tight smile and said, "Mr. Brooks is on the top floor. Don't expect to see him much. He doesn't mingle with new hires." Ethan Brooks was a name everyone knew. Self-made millionaire, media mogul, the kind of guy who got profiled in Forbes and invited to speak at TED Talks. People said he was brilliant, but ruthless, a recluse who'd rather crunch numbers than shake hands. I figured I'd never cross paths with him. Just keep my head down and do my job. The marketing department was a whirlwind of deadlines and egos, but I found my rhythm. I'd get in at 8:30 sharp, arrange my desk just so, and dive into spreadsheets and campaign ideas. My co-workers were mostly friendly, especially Nia Torres, a Latina woman who'd been at Apex for 5 years. Nia had a sharp wit and a knack for making me laugh. Like the time she caught me stressing over a typo and said, "Girl, chill. It's a comma, not a crime scene." But not everyone was a fan. Derek Walsh, another marketing associate, had a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was all charm in meetings, but I caught him taking credit for my ideas once or twice. "Just team effort," he'd say, winking like we were in on some joke. I wasn't here to make enemies, so I let it slide, but I kept my guard up. Then there were the weird moments, the ones I couldn't explain. A couple of weeks into the job, I started finding coffee cups on my desk, black with a splash of vanilla, exactly how I liked it. No note, no explanation. I asked Nia, but she just shrugged. "Maybe you've got a secret admirer," she teased. I laughed it off, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Sometimes I'd look up from my computer and catch a shadow moving past the glass wall, gone before I could focus. Once, working late, I glanced at the hallway and swore I saw Ethan standing there. But when I blinked, he was gone. It wasn't just the coffee. Ethan started showing up in my orbit, never obvious, but enough to make me wonder. He'd be in the break room when I grabbed a snack, asking about my day like it was normal for a CEO to chat with a newbie. One time, my car wouldn't start in the parking garage, and he appeared out of nowhere, calling his mechanic to fix it before I could protest. "No trouble," he said, waving off my thanks as he slid into his sleek Tesla. I told myself it was nothing. He was just a hands-on boss, right? But Nia wasn't so sure. Over lunch one day, she leaned across the table, her eyes narrowing. "Nia, you notice how Ethan's always around you? I saw him watching you during the last team meeting. Dude's got it bad." I nearly choked on my sandwich. "Nia, come on. He's the CEO. He's got better things to do than stalk me." She smirked. "Uh-huh. Keep telling yourself that." Her words stuck with me, though. I started noticing things. The way Ethan's gaze lingered when I presented in meetings, the way he'd ask about my projects with a focus that felt personal. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel something. Ethan wasn't just powerful. He was magnetic. Sharp jawline, gray eyes that seemed to see everything, a voice that could calm a room or command it. But I wasn't here to play Cinderella. I'd worked too hard, fought too many battles as a black woman in spaces that weren't built for me, to let a crush derail everything. Still, that night in the conference room, with the rain drowning out the world and Ethan's confession hanging in the air, I couldn't deny the truth. Something was happening, something big, messy, and dangerous, and I had no idea what to do about it. If you've ever had a moment that turned your world upside down, you know how I felt standing there, rain pounding, heart racing. Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if you're as hooked as I was on this wild ride, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, this is just the beginning, and things are about to get crazy. See you in the next part. The rain from that night in the conference room lingered in my head for days, not just because of the storm, but because of Ethan's words. "I'm in love with you." They echoed every time I walked into Apex Media's glassy skyscraper, every time I sat at my desk, every time I caught a glimpse of him in the hallway. I didn't know what to do with it, Part of me wanted to confront him, demand answers, but another part just wanted to bury it and focus on my job. I'd fought too hard to get here, and I wasn't about to let a CEO's feelings, no matter how earth-shaking, derail me. It was a Tuesday morning, about a week after his confession, when everything shifted again. I was at my desk, sipping coffee I'd brought from home because I was too paranoid to touch the mystery cups that kept appearing. Maya was across from me, scrolling through her phone, muttering about some reality show drama. "Nia, you have to watch this mess," she said, waving her phone. "These folks are wild." I laughed, shaking my head. "Girl, I barely have time to sleep, let alone binge TV." She smirked, but before she could fire back, our manager, Karen, poked her head into the marketing bullpen. "Nia, can you come to my office? Now." My stomach dropped. Karen wasn't the warm and fuzzy type. She was all business, with a clipboard permanently glued to her hand. Getting called to her office usually meant you'd screwed up, or you were about to get a project dumped on you. I glanced at Maya, who raised an eyebrow like, "Good luck, sis." Karen's office was a sterile box with a view of Atlanta's skyline, all steel and glass that made me feel small. She didn't waste time. "Nia, you've been selected to lead the pitch for the Carter & Sons account. It's a big one. National ad campaign, multi-million-dollar budget. The client's coming in next week and they want a full presentation." I blinked, my brain struggling to catch up. "Wait, lead? As in me? I'm just an associate." Karen adjusted her glasses, her expression unreadable. "I know it's unusual, but the request came straight from upstairs." She didn't say Ethan's name, but she didn't have to. The air in the room felt heavier, like his shadow was hovering over us. I should have been thrilled. Leading a pitch like this was the kind of opportunity people with twice my experience fought for. Carter & Sons was a major retail chain, and a successful campaign could put me on the map, maybe even get me a promotion. But all I could think about was Ethan's voice in the rain-soaked conference room. Was this another one of his moves? Another way to pull me closer? Thank you," I managed, my voice shaky. "I won't let you down." Karen nodded, already turning back to her computer. "Good. You'll have a team, but your point person. Don't screw it up." I walked back to my desk in a daze, my head spinning. Maya was waiting, leaning back in her chair with a grin. "So? You get fired or what?" I sank into my seat, staring at my monitor. "They want me to lead the Carter & Sons pitch." Her eyes went wide. "Shut up. You? No offense, Nia, but you've been here what, 3 months? That's some Cinderella-level glow-up." "Yeah," I muttered. "And I'm wondering who's playing fairy godmother." Maya's grin faded, and she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You think it's Ethan, don't you? I told you, girl. He's got his eye on you. I saw him staring during last week's meeting, like you were the only person in the room." I shook my head, trying to brush it off. "He's the CEO, Maya. He's probably just invested in the team." She snorted. "Invested my ass. CEOs don't invest in associates unless they're trying to invest in something else." Her words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I'd been trying to convince myself that Ethan's confession was a one-off, a moment of weakness he'd regret and never mention again. But this? Handing me a project this big? It felt like another piece of a puzzle I didn't want to solve. The next few days were a blur of prep work. I threw myself into the Carter & Sons pitch, pulling late nights and chugging Red Bull to keep up. My team was solid, 2 other associates and a designer, but I could feel their eyes on me, wondering why I was in charge. Derek Walsh, of course, was the loudest about it. He cornered me in the break room one morning, his fake smile dialed up to 11. "Nia, congrats on the big gig," he said, pouring coffee like we were old pals. "Must feel good to get handpicked by the boss man." I gripped my mug tighter, forcing a smile. "Just doing my job, Derek?" "Oh, sure," he said, his tone dripping with something I couldn't quite pin down. "But you know, some of us have been grinding for years without a shot like this. Guess you've got that special touch." He walked away before I could respond, leaving me fuming. Derek had a way of saying things that sounded friendly but cut deep, like he was planting seeds of doubt for everyone to see. I knew he was gunning for my spot, and I wasn't about to give him the satisfaction of watching me crack. But Derek wasn't my only problem. The coffee cups kept showing up. Every morning, there'd be one on my desk, black with a splash of vanilla, sometimes with a post-it note scribbled with things like "keep killing it" or "great work on the mock-ups." I asked around, but nobody knew anything. Maya thought it was hilarious. "Your secret admirer's got taste," she said, eyeing the latest cup. "Bet it's Brooks. Nobody else in this office is that extra." I wanted to laugh, but the notes were starting to freak me out. Was Ethan doing this? And if he was, why? He'd promised to give me space, but these little gestures felt like he was still circling, watching from a distance. I caught myself scanning the hallways, half expecting to see him lurking like some corporate ghost. Then came the team meeting. We were presenting our initial concepts for the Carter & Sons pitch, and the whole marketing department was packed into the boardroom. I'd spent all night polishing my slides, rehearsing my talking points until my throat was raw. This was my chance to prove I deserved to be here, that I wasn't just Ethan's pet project. I stood at the front of the room, clicking through slides, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "Our target demographic is young, urban, and diverse," I said, pointing to the data on the screen. "They want authenticity, not just another glossy ad. I propose a campaign centered on real stories, small business owners, community leaders, people like the customers Carter & Sons serves." The room was quiet, heads nodding, and for a moment, I felt unstoppable. Then I glanced at the glass wall separating the boardroom from the hallway, and my heart skipped. Ethan was there, leaning against the frame, his arms crossed, watching me. His gray eyes were locked on mine, unreadable but intense, like he was seeing something nobody else could. I stumbled over my next sentence, my cheeks burning, but I pushed through, finishing the presentation with a smile that felt more like a grimace. Afterward, as people filed out, Ethan stepped into the room. The air shifted, conversations hushing as he moved toward me. "Nia," he said, his voice carrying that calm authority that made everyone listen. "That was impressive. Your approach, focusing on real stories, it's exactly what this campaign needs. I want you to run with it." The room went dead silent. I could feel every eye on me, some curious, some skeptical. Derek's smile was tight, like he was swallowing glass. Maya shot me a look that said, "Told you so." "Thank you, Mr. Brooks," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I appreciate the feedback." He nodded, holding my gaze a second longer than necessary before turning to leave. The room erupted into murmurs the moment he was gone. "Damn, Nia," one of my teammates said, clapping me on the shoulder. "You've got the big man's attention." "Yeah," I muttered, my stomach churning. Lucky me. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my tiny apartment, the streetlights filtering through my blinds, replaying the meeting in my head. Ethan's praise had felt like a spotlight, warm and validating, but it came with a shadow. Why was he singling me out? Was it really about my work, or was this another way to keep me close like the coffee cups and the late-night confession? And worse, why did part of me like it? I'd caught myself noticing things about him, the way his sleeves were rolled up in the boardroom, showing the lean muscles of his forearms, the way his voice softened when he said my name. It was dangerous, and I knew it. I needed perspective, so I called the one person who always kept me grounded, my mom, Loretta. She picked up on the second ring, her voice warm but tired. "Nia, baby, you okay? It's late." "I'm fine, Mama," I lied, curling up on my couch. "Just work stuff. Got a big project, and I'm feeling out of my depth." She chuckled, the sound like home. "Out of your depth? Girl, you've been swimming with sharks since you were born. You got this. Just don't let those fancy folks make you doubt yourself." I smiled, but my chest tightened. What if What if someone's helping me for the wrong reasons? Like not because I'm good, but because they like me? There was a pause, and I could picture her narrowing her eyes, the way she did when she knew I wasn't telling the whole story. "Who's this someone?" she asked, her tone sharp. "And what do they want from my baby?" "Nobody, Mama," I said quickly. "Just hypotheticals." She said, not buying it. "Listen, Nia. You're smart, you're talented, and you don't need nobody's pity or their favors. If someone's giving you special treatment, you make damn sure it's because you earned it. And if they're playing games, you walk away. You hear me?" "I hear you," I said, my voice small. But as I hung up, I wasn't sure I could walk away. Not from the job, not from the opportunity, and maybe not even from Ethan. The next morning I got to work early, determined to focus. But when I reached my desk, there was another coffee cup, steam curling from the lid. This time, the post-it note read, "Your ideas lit up that room yesterday." I stared at it, my pulse racing. It had to be Ethan. Nobody else would be this bold, this personal. I wanted to throw the cup away, to prove I didn't need his gestures, but I didn't. Instead, I took a sip, the vanilla hitting my tongue like a guilty pleasure. I was in deeper than I wanted to admit. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure I wanted to get out. The Carter & Sons pitch was my chance to prove I was more than Ethan's fascination, but it was also a tightrope. One wrong step, and I could lose everything. My job, my reputation, my sense of self. And yet, as I sat there, coffee in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Ethan's eyes in the boardroom, the weight of his praise, the mystery of those damn coffee cups. They were pulling me into something bigger, something I wasn't sure I could control. The buzz from leading the Carter & Sons pitch should have carried me for weeks. I'd nailed the initial presentation, gotten a nod from Ethan Brooks himself, and felt, for the first time since starting at Apex Media, like I belonged in that shiny Atlanta skyscraper. But success, I was learning, came with a price. By the end of that week, the whispers started, soft at first, like static in the background, but growing louder, sharper, until they were impossible to ignore. It began in the break room. I was grabbing a granola bar from the vending machine, my mind on the next set of mock-ups for the campaign, when I overheard two designers by the coffee maker. "Nia's killing it on the Carter account," one said, stirring her latte. "But isn't it weird how she got picked? She's been here, 3 months?" The other one snorted. "Not weird if you've got the CEO in your corner. I heard Brooks pushed for her. Personally." My stomach twisted. I kept my back to them, pretending to fiddle with the vending machine, but their words burned. I wanted to spin around, tell them I'd earned this, that my late nights and obsessive prep weren't some gift from Ethan. But I didn't. I grabbed my snack and walked out, my face hot, their laughter trailing behind me. By Friday, the whispers had spread like wildfire. People stopped talking when I entered rooms, their smiles too tight, their glances too curious. Even my team, folks I'd been grinding with on the Carter project, started acting off. During a brainstorming session, one of them, a guy named Chris, made a joke about Nia's VIP status that landed like a brick. Everyone laughed, but it wasn't friendly. It was the kind of laugh that said, "We're watching you." Maya, bless her, was the only one who kept it real. We were at our usual lunch spot, a food truck park near the office, scarfing down tacos under a string of fairy lights. The Atlanta skyline loomed in the distance, all glass and ambition, but I felt like I was shrinking under its weight. "People are talking, Maya," I said, picking at my Al pastor. "They think I got the Carter gig because Ethan's into me." Maya didn't look surprised. She wiped hot sauce from her chin and leaned back, her eyes narrowing. "Girl, of course they're talking. You're a black woman running point on a multi-million-dollar account, and the CEO's singing your praises in public. Folks don't know how to handle that, so they make up stories. But it's not just stories, I said, my voice low. Ethan did say what he said, and now I'm wondering if they're right. What if I didn't earn this? Maya's face softened, but her tone stayed firm. Nia, listen, you're good, damn good. I've seen your work. Those slides you presented? Fire. The client ate it up. Ethan might have opened the door, but you walked through it. Don't let these haters make you doubt that. I wanted to believe her, but the seed was planted, and it was growing thorns. Every coffee cup on my desk, still showing up, still with those cryptic notes like, "You've got this," felt like evidence against me. Every time I caught Ethan's eye in a meeting, I wondered if everyone else saw it too. And the worst part? I couldn't stop thinking about him. His voice, his presence, the way he'd looked at me that rainy night, vulnerable and raw. It was messing with my head, and I hated it. Things got worse the following Monday. I was in the middle of a team huddle, going over our revised campaign budget, when Derek Walsh struck. He'd been quiet lately, his usual fake charm dialed back, which should have been my first clue he was up to something. As I wrapped up, he leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, and said, "Great work, Nia. Must be nice having the boss's ear to get all this approved so fast." The room went still. My team exchanged glances, and I felt the air shift, like a storm was brewing. I forced a smile, keeping my voice even. "I don't have anyone's ear, Derek. I sent the budget to Karen, same as always." He shrugged, his smirk sharp enough to cut. Sure. Just saying. Some of us have to jump through hoops for approvals. You seem to glide right through." I wanted to snap, to tell him to back off, but I knew better. Losing my cool would only fuel the rumors. So I swallowed my anger and said, "If you've got notes on the budget, I'm all ears. Let's hear 'em." He didn't have anything, of course, just that smug look as he leaned back like he'd won something. But the damage was done. After the meeting, Chris pulled me aside, his tone apologetic. "Hey, Nia, don't take this the wrong way, but people are saying you're tight with Brooks, like tight. Is that true?" I stared at him, my chest tight. "No, Chris, it's not true. I'm just doing my job." He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. And why would he be? The coffee cups, Ethan's praise, the way he'd singled me out. It all added up to a story I couldn't deny, even if I wanted to. That afternoon, it got uglier. I was in the elevator, heading to a client call, when two execs from the C-suite stepped in. They didn't notice me at first, too busy talking. "Brooks is obsessed with that Carter campaign," one said, chuckling. "Or maybe it's the girl running it. What's her name? Nia?" The other laughed. "Yeah, his pet project. Wonder how long she'll last." I stood there, invisible in my corner, my face burning. When the doors opened, I bolted, my heart pounding. I made it to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and let the tears come. It wasn't just the rumors. It was the way they stripped away everything I'd worked for. I'd spent years proving I was more than my background, more than the girl from Vine City who'd grown up on food stamps. I'd stayed up nights studying, taken on debt, fought microaggressions like, "You're so articulate," or "Your hair's so bold." And now, all anyone saw was Ethan's supposed crush. I splashed water on my face, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My curls were frizzing under the fluorescent lights, my eyes red-rimmed but fierce. I thought of my mom, Loretta, who'd worked double shifts to keep our lights on, who'd told me, "Don't let them break you, Nia." I wasn't broken. Not yet. But I was angry, and I was done playing nice. I decided to confront the source of the mess, Ethan. If he was behind my opportunities, if his feelings were fueling the rumors, I needed to know. I waited until the end of the day, when most of the office had cleared out, and marched to the executive floor. My palms were sweaty, but I held my head high, channeling every ounce of strength I'd inherited from Mom. Ethan's office was a fortress of glass and steel, with a view of Atlanta's skyline that made my breath catch. He was at his desk, typing, his sleeves rolled up, a lock of dark hair falling over his forehead. He looked up when I knocked, and his face softened, like he'd been waiting for me. "Nia," he said, standing. "Everything okay?" "No," I said, closing the door behind me. "It's not okay. People are talking, Ethan. They think I got the Carter pitch because of what you said. I need to know if that's true." He winced, like I'd hit a nerve, and ran a hand through his hair. "Nia, Don't dodge the question," I cut in, my voice sharper than I meant. "Did you pick me for this because of my work? Or because you have feelings for me?" He stepped closer, his gray eyes intense but not defensive. "Your work," he said firmly. "I saw your portfolio before you even started here. Your ideas for that startup you interned at? They were bold, smart. I knew you could handle Carter and Sons, but—" He hesitated, his voice dropping. "I won't lie. I wanted you on this because I believe in you. And yeah, because I wanted to see you shine. I'm sorry if that's clouded things." His honesty disarmed me, but it didn't erase the sting. "You don't get it," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm a black woman in a place like this. People already assume I don't belong. Now they think I'm only here because the CEO's got a thing for me. Do you know how that feels?" Ethan's face fell, and for a moment he looked lost. "I didn't think. I should have seen how this would look. Nia, I never meant to undermine you." "But you did," I said, stepping back. "And now I'm stuck proving myself twice as hard, again." He nodded, his jaw tight. "What can I do? Tell me how to fix this." I didn't have an answer. Part of me wanted him to back off, to stop the coffee cups and the lingering looks. But another part, the part that felt a spark every time he was near, didn't want him to disappear. It was a mess, and I was drowning in it. "I need space," I said finally. "No more notes, no more special treatment. Let me do my job." He looked like he wanted to say more, but he just nodded. "Okay, I'll respect that." I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me at the door. "Nia, for what it's worth, you're one of the best we've got. That's not me talking as whatever this is. That's me as your boss." I didn't look back. I couldn't. But his words followed me all the way to the elevator, mixing with the anger and confusion in my chest. That night, I went to see Mom. Her apartment was a few blocks from mine, a small place filled with the smell of cornbread and the sound of old Motown records. She was on the couch, her legs propped up, looking frailer than I liked. Her diabetes had been acting up, and I hated how it was wearing her down. "You look like you're carrying the world, baby," she said, patting the cushion next to her. I sank down, resting my head on her shoulder. "Works a lot, Mama. People are saying things about me and my boss. It's making everything hard." She frowned, her eyes sharp. "What kind of things, and what's this boss doing to make folks talk?" I hesitated, not ready to spill Ethan's confession. "He's supportive, maybe too much, and now everyone thinks I'm getting favors I didn't earn." She took my hand, her grip strong despite her illness. "Nia, you listen to me. You've been fighting since you were a little girl, fighting to be seen, to be heard. Don't let these folks make you feel small. You're here because you're good, not because some man decided to lift you up. And if he's crossing lines, you set him straight. You hear me?" "I hear you," I said, my voice thick. But as I hugged her, I wasn't sure I could set Ethan straight, or if I even wanted to. Back at my apartment, I stood in my tiny kitchen, staring at the city lights through my window. The Carter and Sons pitch was still mine to lead, but the rumors were a weight I couldn't shake. Derek's jabs, the exec's laughter, the doubt in my team's eyes, it was all closing in. I needed to fight back, to prove I was more than the gossip, and that meant doubling down, working harder, and shutting out the noise, including Ethan. I grabbed my laptop, opened the campaign files, and got to work. The screen glowed in the dark, my fingers flying over the keys. I wasn't just fighting for a job anymore. I was fighting for me. The Carter & Sons pitch was my make-or-break moment, and I poured everything into it. Late nights, endless revisions, and enough coffee to float a barge. My tiny Atlanta apartment became a war room, papers strewn across my thrift store coffee table, my laptop glowing until dawn. I wasn't just fighting for a campaign. I was fighting for my name, my worth, and the chance to silence the whispers that had been dogging me since Ethan's confession. By the time the big day rolled around, I was exhausted but ready, my nerves buzzing like a live wire. The client meeting was in Apex Media's sleekest boardroom, all glass walls and polished wood, with a view of Atlanta's skyline that screamed money. The Carter & Sons execs, 3 older white guys in crisp suits and a younger black woman named Simone who didn't miss a thing, sat across from my team. I could feel their eyes on me, sizing me up, wondering if the newbie could deliver. My team was there too, but the spotlight was mine, and so was the pressure. I stood at the front, clicking through slides, my voice steady despite the sweat prickling my back. Our campaign, real stories, real impact, centers on authenticity, I said, pointing to a mock-up on the screen. We've partnered with local business owners, folks like a barber in Decatur and a baker in West End, to tell their stories. It's not just about selling products, it's about building trust with a diverse urban audience. Simone leaned forward, her pen tapping her notepad. I like the community angle, she said, her voice sharp but warm. But how do you measure impact? We need numbers, not just feel-good vibes. I was ready for that. I flipped to a slide with projected engagement metrics, citing data I'd crunched at 3 a.m. Based on our focus groups, 78% of our target demographic trusts brands that highlight real people over celebrities. We're projecting a 15% increase in online engagement within the first quarter, with a 10% uptick in in-store traffic. The room was quiet, heads nodding. Simone smiled, and one of the suits scribbled something down. I kept going, weaving in visuals and testimonials, my confidence growing with every slide. By the time I wrapped up, I felt like I'd run a marathon, but the good kind, where you cross the finish line knowing you left it all on the track. The lead exec, a guy named Richard, stood to shake my hand. Impressive, Nia. We're sold. Let's move forward with your team. I beamed, my chest swelling with pride. Thank you, sir. We won't let you down. As the clients filed out, my team clapped me on the back, their earlier skepticism replaced with grins. Even Chris, who'd questioned me about Ethan, gave me a fist bump. You crushed it, Nia, he said. Didn't know you had that in you. I laughed, but the high didn't last. Maya pulled me aside as we left the boardroom, her expression serious. That was fire, girl, but heads up. I overheard Karen talking to HR. Apparently Ethan pushed hard for you to lead this, like really hard. People are noticing. My stomach sank. I'd wanted this win to be mine, clean and undeniable. But Ethan's shadow was everywhere. The coffee cups, the rumors, and now this. It was like I couldn't escape him, no matter how hard I tried. That night, Apex threw a small celebration at a swanky rooftop bar downtown, all string lights and overpriced cocktails. The marketing team was there, plus a few execs, everyone toasting the Carter & Sons deal. I wore a red dress I'd splurged on, feeling bold for once, my curls loose and shining under the lights. For a moment, I let myself enjoy it. The music, the laughter, the clink of glasses. I'd earned this. But then Ethan showed up. He walked in, effortlessly commanding the room, his navy blazer hugging his frame just right. People parted for him like he was Moses, and I felt that familiar tug in my chest, half attraction, half dread. He made his way over, a glass of bourbon in hand, and stopped beside me at the bar. "Congratulations, Nia," he said, his voice low, meant just for me. "You were phenomenal today. The clients couldn't stop talking about you." I sipped my wine, trying to keep my cool. "Thanks, Mr. Brooks." The team pulled it together. He raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Don't do that. This was you. I knew you'd deliver." His words were warm, but they carried weight. I glanced around, noticing a few coworkers watching us, their expressions unreadable. "Can we talk?" I said, nodding toward the quieter end of the rooftop where the city lights sparkled below. He followed me to a corner near the railing, the Atlanta skyline stretching out like a sea of stars. The air was cool, the music a soft hum in the background. I turned to face him, my heart pounding. "Ethan, I need you to be straight with me. Did you push for me to lead this because of my work or because of how you feel?" He set his glass on the railing, his eyes searching mine. "Both," he admitted, his voice raw. "Your work is why I noticed you, Nia. I saw your potential months ago, before I let my feelings get in the way. But yeah, I wanted you to have this shot because I care about you too much." I exhaled, frustration and something softer, something dangerous mixing in my chest. "You can't keep doing this," I said. "People are talking, Ethan. They think I'm only here because you're, you know." He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "I know, and I hate that I've put you in this position, but I can't stop believing in you. You're not just good. You're exceptional, and He paused, his jaw tightening. "I've spent my life building this company, Nia. I never made time for anything real, anything that mattered. Then you walked in, and suddenly I'm questioning everything." His words hit me hard, peeling back layers I wasn't ready to face. I looked at him, really looked, and saw not just the CEO, but the man. The faint lines around his eyes, the vulnerability in his voice, the way his hand twitched like he wanted to reach for me but didn't. And God help me, I felt it too. The pull, the spark, the what-if that kept me up at night. I stepped back, my breath shaky. "We can't do this, Ethan. Not here, not like this. I need to know I'm standing on my own." He nodded, his expression a mix of resolve and regret. "I hear you. I'll back off. But Nia, if you ever want to talk, outside of work, as equals, I'm here." I didn't trust myself to respond, so I just nodded and walked away, the city lights blurring as I fought the urge to look back. The next day, the high from the pitch was overshadowed by a bombshell. I got a promotion. Karen called me into her office and slid a contract across her desk.
"Junior Marketing Director,"
she said, her tone clipped. "Comes with a 20% raise and your own team. Congratulations." I stared at the paper, my mouth dry. "This is... wow. Thank you." She didn't smile. "Don't thank me. This came from upstairs. You've got big shoes to fill, Nia. Don't let it go to your head." Upstairs. Ethan. Of course. The promotion was everything I'd dreamed of. More money to help Mom, a title that proved I'd made it. But it felt tainted. I signed the contract, my hand shaking, knowing every eye in the office would be on me, waiting for me to prove I deserved it. The rumors got louder after that. I overheard snippets in the hallways. "She's Brooks' favorite. Wonder what she did to get that title." Even my team started acting distant, their congratulations laced with doubt. Maya was the only one who kept it real, pulling me aside at lunch. "Nia, this promotion is yours," she said, her eyes fierce. "You killed that pitch." But I'm not gonna lie. People are saying Ethan's behind it, and it's not just talk. I heard from a friend in HR that he's been vouching for you since day one. I pushed my salad around my plate, my appetite gone. I asked him to stop, Maya. I told him I need to do this on my own. She sighed, leaning back. Men like Ethan don't stop. They think they're helping, but they're building a cage. You gotta decide what you want, him or your own path. Her words stuck with me, heavy and true. I wanted the promotion, the career, the chance to make Mom proud. But Ethan, he was a complication I hadn't planned for. And the more I tried to pull away, the more I felt him pulling me back. That weekend, I went to see Mom, needing her clarity. She was in her kitchen, stirring a pot of collard greens, the smell filling the small apartment with warmth. I sat at the table picking at a piece of cornbread and spilled everything. Well, almost everything. I left out Ethan's confession. But I told her about the promotion, the rumors, the way I felt like I was drowning in other people's opinions. She turned off the stove and sat across from me, her hands folded. Nia, baby, you're in deep, aren't you? I nodded, my throat tight. I just want to do my job, Mama. But it's like every step I take, someone's waiting to say I didn't earn it. She reached for my hand, her grip strong despite the tremble in her fingers. You listen to me. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to show them who you are. If this boss of yours is lifting you up, that's his choice. But you make sure every win is yours. And if he's got feelings messing with your head, you figure out what you want before you let him in. I hugged her, tears stinging my eyes. She was right. I needed to take control, to own my success and set boundaries with Ethan. But as I drove home, the city lights reflecting off my windshield, I couldn't shake the memory of his voice on that rooftop, the way he'd looked at me like I was the only thing that mattered. It was a dangerous feeling, and I wasn't sure I could outrun it. Back at Apex, the promotion came with new responsibilities and new eyes on me. Derek's smirks were sharper, the whispers louder, and my team's trust shakier. But the Carter & Sons campaign was rolling, and I was determined to make it a success, no matter what anyone said. I buried myself in work, staying late, triple-checking every detail. I wasn't just proving myself to the company, I was proving it to me. But Ethan was still there, a shadow I couldn't shake. No more coffee cups, no more notes. But I'd catch him watching me in meetings, his gaze heavy with something unspoken. And every time I felt that pull, that question, what if I let myself feel it too? The glow of my promotion to junior marketing director should have carried me for months. More money, my own team, a title that made Mom's eyes light up when I told her. It was everything I dreamed of when I was scraping by in Vine City. But at Apex Media, nothing came without strings, and those strings were tightening around me like a noose. The Carter & Sons campaign was rolling, but the rumors about me and Ethan Brooks were a wildfire, and Derek Walsh was pouring gasoline. It started with a Monday morning email that hit like a gut punch. I was at my desk sipping coffee, not one of Ethan's mystery cups, thank God, since those had stopped after our rooftop talk, when the message popped up from Karen, my manager, subject, Carter & Sons budget discrepancy. My heart sank before I even opened it. The email was curt. Nia, the latest budget report for Carter & Sons shows a $200,000 overrun. This is unacceptable. You're expected at a 2 p.m. meeting with the leadership team to explain. Be prepared. I stared at the screen, my pulse racing. An overrun? I'd triple-checked every line item, stayed up nights balancing the numbers. There was no way. I pulled up the report, my fingers shaking as I scrolled through the spreadsheets. Sure enough, there it was. A massive expense tagged to consulting fees that I'd never approved, dated 2 days ago. My name was on the submission, but I hadn't sent it. Someone had tampered with the file. I knew who before I even checked the metadata. Derek. His name was buried in the document's revision history, a quiet little signature of sabotage. He'd been gunning for me since the Carter pitch, his smirks and jabs growing bolder with every step I climbed. This wasn't just a prank. It was a calculated move to tank my career. I stormed to Maya's desk, my voice low but trembling. "Maya, look at this." Derek screwed with the budget report. He's trying to make me look incompetent. She scanned the email, her eyes narrowing. "This is dirty, Nia. Like, fireable dirty. You gotta take this to Karen, HR, somebody." "I can't," I said, pacing. "If I call him out without proof, it's my word against his. And with all the rumors about me and Ethan, nobody's gonna believe I didn't just mess up." Maya grabbed my arm, forcing me to stop. "Girl, you're not going down like this. Find the proof. Check the server logs, email chains, anything. Derek's slick, but he's not a genius." I nodded, but my stomach was in knots. The 2 p.m. meeting loomed like a guillotine, and I had less than 5 hours to save myself. The boardroom was a pressure cooker. The leadership team, Karen, 2 VPs, and a finance guy who looked like he'd never smiled, sat across from me, their faces stone cold. The Carter and Sons budget report was projected on the screen, that damning $200,000 overrun glowing like a neon sign. I'd spent the morning digging through server logs, but all I'd found were traces of Derek's access, not enough to pin him without a fight. I was walking into a lion's den with nothing but my word. Karen started, her voice clipped. "Nia, this is a serious oversight. The client's already been notified of the overrun, and they're furious. Explain yourself." I took a deep breath, channeling Mom's advice. "Don't let them break you." "There's been a mistake," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I didn't submit this report. The consulting fees were added without my approval, and I can show you my original budget, time-stamped last week, with no overrun." The finance guy, Tom, raised an eyebrow. "Your name's on the submission, Nia. Are you saying someone falsified it?" I hesitated, my throat tight. Naming Derek could backfire, but staying silent would bury me. "Yes," I said finally. "I believe someone accessed the file and altered it. I'm still gathering evidence, but I can prove my original numbers were clean." Karen's eyes narrowed. "That's a bold accusation. You'd better have ironclad proof, or this looks like you're deflecting." Before I could respond, the door opened and Ethan walked in. The room shifted, everyone sitting up straighter. His presence was a double-edged sword. I needed an ally, but his involvement only fueled the rumors. He took a seat, his gray eyes flicking to me, unreadable but intense. "I was briefed on the situation," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Nia, walk us through your side." I swallowed, feeling every eye on me. I laid out my case. The original budget, the timestamps, the discrepancies. I didn't name Derek, not yet, but I hinted at unauthorized access. Ethan listened, his expression neutral, but I caught the tension in his jaw like he was holding something back. Tom wasn't convinced. "This is sloppy, Nia. You're the project lead. Even if someone tampered with the file, it's your responsibility to catch it." I felt the ground slipping beneath me. "I understand, but—" "Enough," Ethan cut in, his voice sharp. "Nia's raised a valid concern. We're not here to point fingers without evidence. I want a full audit of the server logs and access records by tomorrow. Until then, this meeting's adjourned." The room went silent. Karen's lips pursed like she'd sucked a lemon. As everyone filed out, Ethan stayed, his gaze locked on me. "Nia, a word?" I nodded, my heart pounding. The boardroom emptied, leaving just us, the city's skyline glowing through the glass walls. He stepped closer, his voice low. "Are you okay? This looks like a setup." "I know," I said, my voice shaking. "It's Derek. I found his name in the file history, but it's not enough to nail him. And now the client's pissed, and my team's gonna think I'm a fraud." Ethan's jaw tightened, and he ran a hand through his hair. I can fix this. I'll talk to the client, get it on the audit. If Derek's behind it, he's done. No, I said, stepping back. Don't. If you step in, it'll just make things worse. People already think I'm your... whatever. I need to handle this myself. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Okay. But I'm here, Nia. You don't have to do this alone. His words were meant to comfort, but they only deepened the mess in my head. I wanted his support, wanted him, but every move he made tied me tighter to the rumors. I turned to leave, but he stopped me, his voice softer. Nia, I meant what I said on the rooftop. I'm trying to give you space, but I can't stop caring. I froze, my hand on the door. The air between us crackled, and for a second, I imagined turning back, closing the distance, letting myself fall into whatever this was. But I couldn't. Not now. Not with my career hanging by a thread. I can't do this, Ethan, I whispered, and walked out. The rest of the day was a blur. My team was rattled, their trust in me fraying. Chris wouldn't meet my eyes, and another teammate, Lisa, asked point blank if I'd checked the budget before submitting. I wanted to scream, to tell them I'd been set up, but I held it together, promising answers soon. Derek, meanwhile, was all smiles, offering help in a way that made my skin crawl. I needed air, so I slipped into the storage room on the 5th floor, a dusty corner of the office nobody used, filled with old files and broken chairs. I sank onto a crate, my head in my hands, and let the tears come. It wasn't just the budget or Derek. It was everything. The rumors, the pressure, the way Ethan's feelings made me question my own worth. I'd fought so hard to get here, but it felt like I was losing myself. The door creaked open, and I jumped, wiping my eyes. Ethan stood there, his tie loosened, his face etched with worry. Nia, he said, stepping inside. Maya said you might be here. I needed to check on you. I stood, my voice sharp. I told you, I need to handle this myself. I know, he said, closing the door. But you're killing yourself over this, and I can't just stand by. Let me help. Off the record, no strings. He was close now. Too close. The small room shrinking around us. I could smell his cologne, see the flecks of silver in his eyes. My heart raced, not just from anger, but from something else. Something I'd been fighting since that rainy night. Ethan, you helping is what got me here, I said, my voice breaking. The rumors, the looks. I can't breathe without someone thinking I'm your project. He flinched, but he didn't back away. I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing, giving you chances you deserved. But I'll walk away, Nia. I'll resign if that's what it takes to clear your name. The words hit me like a shockwave. Resign. Ethan Brooks, the man who'd built Apex from nothing, was offering to throw it all away for me. I stared at him, my resolve crumbling. He stepped closer, his hand hovering near mine, and for a moment, I thought he'd touch me. I wanted him to. God, I wanted it. But I pulled back, my breath hitching. No, I said, shaking my head. I don't want you to quit. I need to fix this on my own terms. He nodded, his eyes heavy with something I couldn't name. Okay. But I'm rooting for you, Nia. Always. He left, and I stood there, the room spinning. I was falling for him, and it terrified me. That night, I got a call from the hospital. Mom had collapsed, a complication from her diabetes. I raced to her bedside, my world narrowing to the beep of monitors and the sight of her frail form under the blankets. She was stable, but the doctor's words echoed. She needs rest and better care, or this could happen again. I sat by her bed, holding her hand, my mind a storm. The budget mess, Derek's sabotage, Ethan's offer. It was all too much, and now Mom was slipping. I couldn't lose her, not when she was my anchor, my reason for fighting. I needed to pull myself together, for her and for me. When I got home, I called Maya, my voice raw. I'm drowning, Maya. Derek's winning, Mom's sick, and Ethan, he's making it impossible to think straight. She didn't sugarcoat it. Nia, you gotta choose. You can't fight Derek, save your mom, and figure out Ethan all at once. Prioritize. Nail Derek first. He's the one trying to bury you. Then deal with lover boy. She was right. I opened my laptop, pulling up every file, email, and log I could access. If Derek thought he could break me, he was about to learn who he was messing with. The next morning, I walked into Apex with a fire in my chest. The audit Ethan ordered was underway, but I wasn't waiting. I'd found a deleted email in the server archives, Derek instructing an intern to update the budget with his numbers. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was close. I printed it, tucking it into my bag, ready to fight. But the question remained. Could I take Derek down without dragging Ethan into it? And if I did, what would it cost me? The email I'd found in the server archives was my lifeline, a faint flicker of hope in the chaos threatening to swallow me. Derek's sabotage had nearly cost me everything. The Carter and Sons campaign, my promotion, my reputation, and the rumors about me and Ethan were a noose tightening with every whisper. But as I sat in my apartment, the Atlanta skyline glowing through my window, I knew I had to fight. For Mom, recovering in the hospital. For myself, the girl from Vine City who'd clawed her way to Apex Media. And for the truth, because I was done letting Derek's lies define me. The email wasn't perfect evidence. It showed Derek instructing an intern to update the budget with his numbers, but it didn't explicitly say sabotage Nia. Still, it was enough to start digging deeper. I spent the night combing through server logs, cross-referencing timestamps, and piecing together a timeline. By 4 a.m., I had something better. A deleted chat log from the company's internal messaging system. Derek had told the intern, "Make sure the consulting fees are added under Nia's name. She won't notice." The intern had replied, "You sure? This feels sketchy." Derek's response, "Just do it. I'll handle the fallout." My hands shook as I printed the chat log, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and relief. This was it, the smoking gun. Derek had underestimated me, and now I had him. But using this evidence meant walking into a firestorm. Accusing a colleague, especially one as slick as Derek, could backfire. And with the rumors about Ethan swirling, any move I made would be scrutinized. I needed to be strategic, airtight, and ready for war. The next morning, I walked into Apex Media with the printouts tucked in my bag, my jaw set. The office buzzed with its usual energy, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, but I felt like I was moving through a different world, one where every glance was a judgment, every whisper a blade. I'd requested a meeting with Karen and HR, citing urgent concerns about the Carter and Sons budget. They'd agreed, scheduling it for noon in the same boardroom where I'd nearly lost everything. Before the meeting, I found Maya in the break room, stirring sugar into her coffee. "I got it," I said, keeping my voice low. Proof Derek set me up. Chat logs, emails, the works. Her eyes widened, and she set her mug down. "Damn, Nia, you're a regular Sherlock. You sure about this? Derek's got friends upstairs. If you swing, you better not miss." "I won't," I said, my voice steady. "But I need you to back me up. If this goes south, I'm gonna need someone in my corner." She grinned, clapping my shoulder. "Girl, I've been in your corner since day one. Let's bury this fool." Her support gave me the boost I needed, but as I headed to the boardroom, my stomach churned. This wasn't just about Derek. It was about proving I belonged, that my promotion wasn't Ethan's charity. And speaking of Ethan, I hadn't seen him since our tense moment in the storage room when he'd offered to resign. His words haunted me. "I'm rooting for you, Nia. Always." I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't let his feelings or mine cloud what I had to do. The boardroom was as intimidating as ever, with Karen, the HR director, Lisa, and Tom from finance waiting. Ethan was there too, sitting at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. His presence made my pulse race, but I pushed it down, focusing on the task at hand. Karen started, her tone brisk. "Nia, you requested this meeting. Let's hear it." "Yeah." I stood, my hands steady as I laid out the evidence. "The budget overrun on Carter and Sons was not my error," I said, passing out copies of the email and chat log. "These documents show Derek Walsh instructed an intern to add unapproved consulting fees under my name without my knowledge. The server logs confirm he accessed the file after I submitted my final budget. This was deliberate sabotage." The room went silent, the air thick with tension. Karen scanned the printouts, her lips pursed. Tom raised an eyebrow, flipping through the pages. Lisa from HR leaned forward, her pen tapping her notepad. "These are serious allegations, Nia," she said. "You're saying Derek intentionally falsified a report to discredit you?" "Yes," I said, meeting her gaze. "And I'm prepared to walk you through every detail. Timestamps, access records, everything." Ethan hadn't spoken, but I could feel his eyes on me, steady and intense. I didn't look at him. I couldn't afford to lose focus. Karen finally spoke, her voice cold. "We'll need to verify this with IT and speak to Derek. If what you're saying is true, it's grounds for termination." "Good," I said, my voice firm. "I want a full investigation, and I want the client informed that the overrun was a mistake, not my oversight." Tom nodded, jotting something down. "We'll handle it. But Nia, you understand this could take time. The client's trust is already shaken." "I know," I said, my chest tight. "But I'm not letting this slide. I've worked too hard for my name to be dragged through the mud." The meeting ended with a plan. It would audit the server, HR would interview the intern, and Derek would be called in. As everyone filed out, Ethan lingered, his voice low. "Nia, that was brave. You okay?" I nodded, but my walls were up. "I'm fine. I just need this to be over." He looked like he wanted to say more, but he just nodded and left. I exhaled, the weight of the fight settling into my bones. I'd thrown the first punch, but the war wasn't over. 2 days later, the truth came out. The intern cracked under HR's questioning, admitting Derek had pressured her to alter the budget. The server logs backed it up, showing Derek's late-night access to the file. By Friday, Derek was gone, escorted out by security, his desk cleared, his smug smile nowhere to be seen. Karen called me into her office to confirm. "The client's been updated and your name's clear. Good work, Nia." I should have felt victorious, but the win was bittersweet. My team apologized, their trust slowly rebuilding, but the rumors about Ethan didn't stop. If anything, his presence at the boardroom meeting had fueled them, with whispers now suggesting he'd protected me. I was tired of fighting, tired of proving myself, tired of the pull I felt toward a man I couldn't fully trust. That evening, I went to see Mom at the hospital. She was sitting up, looking stronger, a plate of Jell-O on her tray. "Heard you took down the bad guy," she said, her eyes twinkling. "That's my girl." I laughed, sitting beside her. "Yeah, but it's not over, Mama. People still think I'm tied to my boss. It's messing with my head." She took my hand, her grip warm. "Nia, you've got a big heart, and that's a gift. But don't let it blind you. If this man's worth your time, he'll respect your strength, not try to save you. Figure out what you want, baby." Her words stayed with me as I drove home, the city lights a blur. I wanted my career, my independence, my pride. But I also wanted Ethan, not the CEO, but the man who'd looked at me like I was enough. It was a risk, and I was done running from it. The next week, I asked Ethan to meet me outside work, at a small soul food spot in West End called Mama's Kitchen. It was neutral ground, far from Apex's glass walls, with checkered tablecloths and the smell of fried catfish in the air. I wore jeans and a sweater, my curls loose, feeling more like myself than I had in months. Ethan showed up in a Henley and jeans, no suit, no power dynamic, just a man, nervous and real. We sat in a corner booth, plates of collards and cornbread between us. I didn't waste time. "Ethan, I'm not going to London," I said, referencing an offer he'd floated to transfer me for a fresh start. "But if we're doing this, we need rules. At work it's professional, no favors, no special treatment. I need to know I'm earning my place." He nodded, his eyes steady. "Agreed. I don't want to be your boss in this, Nia. I want to be us. And we take it slow," I added, my voice firm. "No grand gestures. Just you and me, figuring this out as equals." He smiled, the kind that reached his eyes, softening the hard edges I'd come to know. "I can do that. For you, I'd do anything." We talked for hours, about his childhood in a small Georgia town, my summers with Mom at church picnics, the dreams we'd buried under ambition. When he walked me to my car, the streetlights casting shadows, he hesitated, then leaned in. The kiss was soft, tentative, but it lit something in me, a spark of possibility, not just for us, but for me. I pulled back, smiling. "Slow, remember?" He laughed, his breath warm. "Slow. I'm learning." 6 months later, I'm still navigating this new world. I'm leading a diverse team at Apex, pushing campaigns that matter, and paying for Mom's better care with my raise. The rumors haven't stopped, but they're quieter, drowned out by my results. Ethan and I are something. Not perfect, but real. We meet at Mama's Kitchen most weekends, sharing stories over peach cobbler, building something neither of us expected. He's learning to step back at work, and I'm learning to let someone in. I still catch him watching me sometimes, across the office or at a team dinner. But now I watch back, and when our eyes meet, we don't look away. This journey taught me something. Success isn't just about winning. It's about knowing your worth and fighting for it, even when the world tries to tear you down. Love, the real kind, doesn't lift you up. It stands beside you, letting you shine. I'm still Nia Carter, still fighting. But now I know I'm enough. If my story hit you, if you've ever had to prove yourself against the odds, drop your truth in the comments. I want to hear it. And if you've been with me through this wild ride, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for more stories that'll make you laugh, cry, and cheer. Thank you for being here, for rooting for me. Here's to finding our own light, no matter the storm. See you next time.